Good morning. My name is Melissa Manus, and I am here to read my historical fiction book for you. I decided on a chapter book, so I'll be reading the very beginning of the book for you. I've always been interested in World War II. I think that kind of branched out from my dad. My dad's always been interested in World War II, and then when I married my husband, he's been interested in World War II. That's his favorite historical subject. So I think that's kind of where my liking comes from. I everything that I've read, and I know there's so much out there, but everything that I have read book wise about the war has always been on our side. It's always been America, or it's always been England, or it's always been, our side that won. Um, and so when I found this book, I was very intrigued by it because it's not our side. It's about an Irish boy who was on the Nazi side, and he didn't like it. He didn't want to be there. So this book is called Projekt 1065. It was written by Alan Gratz, and it was published by the Scholastic Press in 2016. So I'm just, like I said, I'm just going to read, this is what the front of the book looks like, and I'm just going to read the very first chapter. I'm not even going to read the whole chapter, and this kind of explains how this boy feels about being where he's at. So I'm going to start with chapter 1. It's called Dinner with Nazis. It's hard to smile when you're having dinner with Nazis. There were Nazis all up and down the long table, talking and laughing and eating. There were Nazi soldiers in their gray German army uniforms. There were SS officers, members of Adolf Hitler's private protection squadron, in their black uniforms and red armbands. There were regular civilian Nazis who didn't fight in the military, who ran banks and factories and newspapers and wore suits and ties and Nazi pins. And then there was me, Michael O'Shaughnessy, wearing my brown long-sleeved shirt, black shorts, white knee socks, and black hiking boots polished to a shine. And just like the SS, the most fearsome killers in all the land, I wore a red armband with a big black swastika in the center of it, and the hooked cross symbol, the Nazi plastered all over everything. I wore the uniform of the Hitler Youth, Germany's version of the Boy Scouts, because I was a Nazi too. Or at least I was pretending to be. More cake? The Nazi next to me asked, offering me another slice. Light from the chandelier glinted on the silver skull pin on his collar. Sure. Thanks, I said. That's very kind of you. I remembered to smile, even though it took effort. I hated pretending to like these people, hated pretending to agree with their awful hatred of the Jews, hated pretending I wanted to win the war and conquer the world. But I smiled because I had to. If they ever discovered I wasn't one of them, my family and I would disappear into a concentration camp, never to be seen or heard from again. Your German is so good, a woman on my other side told me. She was the wife of a captain in the German army. If I didn't know your father was the Irish ambassador, I would think you grew up here in Berlin. I sagged in my chair. I heard this every time my family attended one of these dinners. I wasn't exactly the blue-eyed, blonde-haired Aryan ideal, but with my flawless German accent and my brown hair that fell like a mop into my brown eyes, I could pass for an average German boy any day. I wasn't proud of it, but it was definitely useful. Michael's always had a good head for languages, my father said in German. He sat across from me at the table, my mother 2 seats down from him. We've only been here for 6 years, but he already speaks better German than I do. 1937. That was the year my father was named Irish ambassador to Germany, and we moved from London, where he'd been stationed, to Berlin. It was 1943 now, and I was 13 years old. Things had changed so much in those 6 years. Berlin had been a wonderland when we first arrived. All towering columns with eagle statues on top and red flags fluttering from every building and parades 10,000 people strong. Hitler was already the Chancellor of Germany, and the Nazis, his political party, were well in control. Germany wasn't at war yet, and not everybody was a Nazi back then, but it was hard to argue with their success. Everywhere I'd looked, I'd seen faces full of smiles and laughter. But then, overnight, the party had ended. Not the Nazi party. They had only gotten stronger. The other party. The feeling of unbounded German cheerfulness was gone. I had finally seen the horror behind the smiles, and so had the rest of the world. So I hope that piqued your interest, especially if you're interested in this war. This is a very good book to read to give you a insight to the other side. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you very much.